Took me 25 years to raise you. Now you're jobless? Get out. That's what my mom said before slamming the door in my face. No hesitation, no warning, just a trash bag full of my stuff thrown at my feet and a look like I was some pathetic stranger who had overstayed their welcome. It was raining, not a light drizzle, the kind of cold, soaking rain that makes your skin burn and your bones ache. I stood there for a second, too stunned to even move. My ears were ringing. My hands shook. I couldn't process what just happened. A few hours earlier, I had come home to tell her I'd lost my job. I didn't expect her to throw a party, but I sure as hell didn't think I'd end the night standing in the street like some stray dog. She didn't even ask what happened. Didn't care. She just snapped. "You're not my problem anymore." She tossed my suitcase out the front door and something inside it broke. I don't even remember what. Maybe a picture frame or a charger. It didn't matter. I bent down, picked it all up with shaking hands, and zipped it closed. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stood there, soaked to the skin, listening to the sound of her deadbolt clicking shut. That sound hit harder than anything else. No one came outside, no neighbors, no cousins. No one asked where I was going or if I was okay. I started walking. The suitcase wheels rattled behind me, catching on every crack in the sidewalk. My shoes squished with water. My hair was plastered to my face. I had no umbrella, no plan, nowhere to go. I didn't even know which direction I was walking in. I just needed to get away. And as I disappeared into the night, something inside me went silent. But there's one thing my mother didn't know. She thought she'd thrown away a failure. She had no idea I was sitting on a fortune. 3 nights before my mom kicked me out, I made her favorite soup, chicken noodle with extra carrots. She said she was tired, her knees were hurting again. I brought her tea, massaged her feet, and reminded her to take her meds. That same night, I paid the electric bill. The week before that, I covered her prescription refills because her insurance ran out. Again. And the month before, I paid half the rent and slipped an extra $100 in her purse without saying a word. She always said, "You're my rock. You keep this house running." I used to believe her, but the moment I lost my job, none of that mattered. My plan was never to live at home forever. After college, I got a job offer in Seattle. Full-time, great pay, upward mobility. I was ready to go. Mom called me crying the night before I was supposed to move. "I don't think I can handle being alone," she said. "Please don't leave me." So I stayed. I turned down the job, found something local. Not as great, but stable. I figured it'd be a year or two, and then I'd go. But the years stacked up. Life got busy, she got comfortable, and somewhere along the way, I stopped being a daughter and became her safety net. When I lost my job, when the company folded due to fraud I had nothing to do with, I expected disappointment. I didn't expect exile. It wasn't just my mom. My whole family jumped in like sharks smelling blood. My aunt called me a cautionary tale. My cousin said, "Maybe you're just not cut out for real responsibility." Even my older brother, who hasn't held a steady job in years, texted me, "Tough luck. Maybe it's time you grew up." But the worst part was dinner. My mom invited the family over, pretending it was just a casual meal. I tried to keep it together. I smiled, I passed the potatoes, and then, right between bites of ham, she said it. "You've been freeloading too long. It's time you start pulling your weight, or leave." I froze. Everyone kept eating like she'd just announced the weather. I looked around the table waiting for someone, anyone, to defend me. No one did. That night I packed a few things into a suitcase. I didn't even have time to finish. The next morning I woke up to the sound of my mom dragging my bag to the door. She threw it outside like it was trash. And when I picked it up, something shiny slipped out. It was the bracelet I gave her last year for her birthday. Cheap, but she wore it every day. Until now. She tossed it in with the rest of my things like it meant nothing. That broke me. Not the job loss, not the suitcase, not even the yelling. It was the bracelet. Because it made one thing clear. This wasn't just about money. It was about me. I was no longer useful. So I was no longer wanted. That night, in the cheapest motel I could find, I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at the wall. The room smelled like cigarettes and bleach. I could hear someone arguing next door. The air conditioner rattled every 30 seconds. And for the first time in my life, I felt truly, completely alone. No one was coming to save me. Not my family, not my mom, not even the girl I used to be. The gas station job wasn't glamorous, but it gave me something I hadn't had in weeks. Control. After my mom kicked me out, I bounced from motels to couch surfing until I finally landed a room in a rundown shared apartment. Peeling paint, paper-thin walls, a bathroom that barely functioned, but it was a roof. It was mine. My shift was the graveyard slot, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., which meant I mostly dealt with drunk kids, sketchy regulars, and the occasional trucker with a kind word. The job was quiet. My life was small. But after everything, I figured small was better than broken. I was scraping by, still numb, still angry, still exhausted, but breathing. Then came the text. Liam. Hey, you still use this number? Check your account and don't freak out. I hadn't heard from Liam in years. In college, we'd been close. Nerd close. He was brilliant with code. I was obsessed with strategy and spreadsheets. We talked big dreams over vending machine coffee and dollar pizza. During junior year, he built an app with a tiny team. I believed in it. I believed in him. So when he asked for a small investment, I gave him everything I had. $4,000 from tutoring and summer jobs. Silent partner, no fanfare. We lost touch after graduation. I thought the startup fizzled. Honestly, I forgot all about it until that text. My hands shook as I logged into my bank account. Available balance $2,880,000. I stared, closed the app, opened it again. Still there. My chest tightened. Not fear, not joy. Something in between. A scream trapped in silence. I ducked into the storage room, sat on a crate of water bottles, and cried like I hadn't in years. Not because I was rich, but because for the first time since I'd been thrown out like garbage, I felt seen, remembered, valued. I texted him back with shaking fingers. Me. Liam? What is this? Is this real? Liam. It's real. We sold the company. You were part of it. I never forgot. Me. I don't even know what to say. Liam, say nothing. Just breathe. It's yours. That night I walked home in a daze. The fluorescent lights of the gas station behind me, the chill of dawn on my skin. Everything around me looked the same, but everything inside me had shifted. The next day, I didn't quit my job. I finished the week, quietly, no big moves, just planning. First, I hired a lawyer. A good one. I didn't want anyone tracing that money back to my mom or anyone else. Then I found a financial advisor. We set up trusts, split accounts, made everything untraceable. I even changed my legal name. A clean break. I bought a small condo in a different city, modern, minimal, with big windows and no memories. I left without saying goodbye. No posts, no calls, no explanations. I disappeared. And then I began. I enrolled in online courses, investing, psychology, even yoga teacher training. I started therapy twice a week, learned how to cook just for myself, got back into reading, traded junk food for smoothies. I dyed my hair, changed my number, changed my clothes, changed me. Liam didn't barge in with congratulations or flirtation. He didn't make any grand gestures. He just checked in. A text here, a meme there. How's the condo? Or found a great book you'd love. He gave me space, but he never left it empty. And slowly I let him back in. Not because I needed him, but because he made it clear I didn't have to be alone unless I chose to. One afternoon, sitting on the balcony of my new place, tea in hand, sunlight warming my legs, I looked out at the skyline and realized I was finally safe. Not because of the money. Because for the first time in my life, I wasn't depending on anyone's approval. I wasn't someone's backup plan. I wasn't trying to prove I was worthy. I simply was. And that was more powerful than any apology I'd never get. It was a random Tuesday night when I saw it. I wasn't looking for it. I was scrolling a real estate news, just out of habit, sipping tea on my balcony when a headline stopped me cold. Foreclosure auction, 3-bedroom home in Westbrook. Starting bid, $78,000. I clicked out of curiosity. Then I saw the photo, and my heart stopped. It was my mother's house. Same faded green shutters, same crack in the front step, same place she shoved me out of without hesitation, without remorse. According to the Post, the property was behind on payments for over 9 months. Utilities in default. Final notice served. I stared at the screen for a long time, processing everything. I hadn't seen or heard from her since the night she slammed the door in my face. And now she was losing the very house she kicked me out of. I took a screenshot and sent it to Liam with a single message. Let's buy it. He replied 2 minutes later. Already working on it. Through the LLC we co-managed, Liam's firm specialized in buying distressed property debt, quietly, legally, and without leaving fingerprints. The process was seamless. We purchased the mortgage from the original lender, gained full control of the foreclosure timeline, and filed the formal repossession order the following week. I didn't need to be involved. Liam handled everything. But when he called me one morning, I could hear it in his voice. "She came in today." I sat up straighter. "To the office?" He nodded on the other end of the line. "Walked straight in, asked to speak to whoever bought the mortgage. Said she wanted to plead her case." My fingers curled around the edge of the chair. "What did you say?" "I told her I was the managing partner. She asked if there was any way to delay the eviction. Said she's behind on bills, out of work, and didn't know what else to do." I waited, silent. "She said she used to live with her daughter, that the girl was lazy, unmotivated, got fired, so she had no choice but to kick her out." I closed my eyes. "And I told her," Liam continued, voice calm, "that her version of the story wasn't the only one I knew." "What did she say?" "She looked confused, asked what I meant." "And?" "I said, you don't get to call someone lazy after they've spent years paying your bills. You don't get to rewrite history when the person you threw out was the only one who ever showed up for you." My chest burned, but not with anger. It was something heavier, sadder. "She didn't fight me," Liam said softly. "She just stood there, quiet, like someone who realized the ground under them had finally disappeared." He paused, then added, "She asked if I could reconsider. Said it was her home, that she made mistakes." "And?" "I said forgiveness is free, but property isn't." I exhaled slowly. "She asked if I knew her daughter. I said yes. I said she was brilliant, loyal, that she deserved the world and more, and that I wouldn't disrespect her by pretending none of this happened." Silence stretched between us. "Did she know it was me behind it all?" I asked finally. "No," Liam said. "And I didn't tell her. You deserve peace, not confrontation." I looked out at the skyline from my apartment, a world away from that house and everything it stood for. "I didn't want revenge," I murmured. "I know," he said. "That's why you got justice instead." That day, my mother left Liam's office empty-handed. No power, no leverage, no excuses. And for the first time in her life, she had to live with the weight of her own choices, without me there to carry it for her. I never stepped foot in that house again. After the foreclosure cleared and the paperwork was finalized, I legally owned the place where I'd once been told, "You're useless now. Get out." The same porch where I stood soaked in the rain, the same living room where I once believed love lived. I could have walked back in, changed the curtains, painted the walls, reclaimed it, but I didn't. Instead, I had the locks changed, hired a crew to deep clean the inside, repaired the cracked window by the kitchen sink, and then I left it. No renters, no renovation plans, just an empty, quiet space that belonged to me now. On paper, and symbolically, I didn't buy that house to live in it. I bought it because it was the site of my unmaking. Now it's a silent monument to everything I've survived. I visit it once a year. I don't even go inside. I just park outside for a few minutes, breathe in the air, and remind myself I'm not that girl anymore. The one who begged to stay. The one who thought love had to be earned through sacrifice. Meanwhile, my mother moved into a modest apartment near the highway. Loud traffic, peeling paint, unreliable plumbing. She had no one to split bills with, no one to cook for her, no one to carry the emotional weight of her life. For the first time, she had to live alone with the version of herself she had built. At first, she had no idea I was the one behind it all. But truth has a way of surfacing. She found out, through whispers or maybe one of those old cousins who love drama too much. And once she knew, the messages started. "Please talk to me. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. You're my daughter. Doesn't that still mean something?" I didn't respond. Then came the letters. Handwritten, shaky, pages of guilt. How she was scared. How she missed me. How she'd changed. But she hadn't. Because real change doesn't start with asking to be forgiven. It starts with never hurting someone like that in the first place. I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty, just clarity. I didn't owe her healing she didn't earn. Instead, I focused on my own. Liam and I built a quiet life together. One built not on obligation, but on presence. On choice. He never rushed me, never pressured me, just stayed, constant and steady, even in my silence. The night he proposed, we were home. No grand restaurant or over-the-top gesture, just takeout on the couch and the sound of a rain tapping on the windows. He handed me a small black box. I expected a ring, but inside was a necklace. The same cheap silver chain I had once given my mother for her birthday. The one she tossed in my suitcase without a second thought when she kicked me out. Liam had found it deep in one of my old bags. He had it polished, the clasp repaired, placed gently on a new chain. "I'm not asking for your past," he whispered. "I'm asking to build a future with the woman you chose to become." I couldn't speak. I just cried and nodded, and that's how I knew it was real. We married a few months later, nothing fancy, just a rooftop ceremony with a few close friends and way too much laughter. Tonight I'm standing alone on that same rooftop, barefoot with a glass of wine, watching the city lights flicker beneath me. The girl I used to be would have given anything to hear "I'm proud of you" from her mother. But now, I don't need to be loved by people who only valued me when I was useful. I don't need to fight for space in hearts that were never safe to begin with. I just need to protect my own, and never let anyone take that from me again. If you've ever been tossed aside when you were struggling, if someone only valued you when you were strong, this space is yours. Tell your story, not for pity, not for revenge, but because someone out there needs to know that you're not alone, and you're not broken. You're just beginning. Ever had to rebuild yourself after being discarded? Drop your story in the comments. You never know who needs to hear it today.